The chamber erupted into chaos as the princess collapsed. Her luminous skin flickered like a dying star, veins of silver light pulsing erratically beneath her translucent surface. Courtiers screamed, alarms blared, and the once orderly council hall descended into a maelstrom of panic. "Don't touch her!" the commander roared, his voice slicing through the turmoil. He leapt forward, uniform pristine but hands trembling. "Protocol!" But the human was already moving. Kellen's boots thudded against the polished floor, unheeding of the screams. His gaze locked on her fading form, the alien princess whose name he barely knew, but whose peril demanded no hesitation. Hands shaking, he knelt beside her, brushing a strand of silver hair from her glowing face. A sudden hiss escaped her throat. Poison, he realized, the subtle shimmer of the toxins coursing through her veins. The chamber security had faltered, frozen in awe and fear at the unfolding disaster. Courtiers pressed against walls, eyes wide, as if sheer disbelief could undo the invisible blade that had struck their royalty. "Step back!" a guard barked, but Kellen ignored him. Human instincts, raw and reckless, surged forward. No alien protocol, no ceremonial caution mattered here. He pressed his palms against her chest, not in any formal healing ritual, but in the simplest, most human gesture he knew. A heartbeat, a pulse, anything, connection. The light in her skin flickered violently, then stuttered as if uncertain whether to fade or fight. Her fingers twitched against his arm, the faintest shimmer of life refusing to surrender completely. Kellen whispered words he wasn't sure she would understand, but words meant to tether her soul to this world. "Hold on, just a little longer." The commander's voice rose again, rage mingled with panic, but Kellen could only see her eyes, wide, filled with terror and trust. For a moment, the world shrank to the space between them, human warmth against alien fragility. Time stretched. The hall seemed to hold its breath. Courtiers stifled sobs, guards froze mid-motion, and the deadly poison continued its silent, relentless march. Finally, her hand fell against his chest, light dimming to a faint glow. Her lips parted, trembling. "I'm sorry," she whispered. "Tell your people." "I tried." Kellen's heart clenched. The room erupted anew, shouts, alarm klaxons, frantic orders, but for him all sound had faded. He held her as she faded, a human heart pressing against an alien one, defying centuries of protocol, prejudice, and fear. And in that instant, the impossible seemed just within reach. The royal medics worked in precise silence, their movements almost too fast for the eye to follow. Machines hummed and blinked, projecting holographic charts of heart rhythms, cellular activity, and energy flows. The alien race was ancient. Millennia of evolution and technology made them nearly invincible. Their medicine could regenerate organs in hours, rewrite DNA on a molecular level, even stave off aging. Yet here, in the center of the grand chamber, their most prized tools failed spectacularly. The poison was exquisite in its cruelty. Designed specifically for their physiology, it bypassed every known defense, seizing neurons, paralyzing vital energy conduits, and turning luminous veins into brittle threads. No counteragent existed. The medics' faces, usually unreadable behind translucent masks, betrayed panic. They whispered in hissing cadences, discussing theoretical antidotes as if debating distant stars. The princess lay motionless in Kellen's arms, her silver glow dimming, a dying constellation in human hands. Around them, the royal court spiraled into despair. Even the emperor, a figure of colossal authority and age-old composure, sank to one knee, head in hands. Grief racked his tall, slender frame. Centuries of knowledge could not shield him from this, could not grant him the one thing he desired most. "She was the future," he murmured, voice breaking like ice. "And now she is gone." Kellen ignored the protocol, the flashing warnings, the shouts of officers and aides. He pressed closer to her, feeling the faint, erratic pulse beneath his palm. Human instincts, crude and imperfect, surged with an intensity no alien logic could predict. He would not, could not, accept death as final. The medics exchanged frantic glances, machines beeping red warnings, the holographic charts collapsing into chaotic flashes. Every indicator screamed the same truth. There was nothing left to do. No cure. No combination of alien medicine, energy infusion, or genetic therapy could undo what had been wrought. Yet Kellen refused to step back. The room's cold perfection, the alien superiority, the millennia of knowledge, all of it faltered in the face of raw human emotion. A desperate hope, stubborn and untamed, radiated from him as he pressed his hand against the princess's chest, willing life where there should have been only death. Around him, the Emperor's grief was a palpable force, waves of sorrow rippling through the chamber. Even the most disciplined guards and aides felt the weight of it, a testament to how fragile even the mightiest beings could be when love and loss converged. Kellen whispered, voice trembling but firm, "You're not leaving. Not like this. Not ever." The medic's eyes widened as they observed something they had never seen before. The indicators, the energy readings, somehow, faintly, inexplicably, began to change. A spark, a flicker, a tremor of life defying logic. And then something impossible began to happen. Kellen's hands were steady now, but not coldly precise like the alien medic's, warm, pulsing with life, a rhythm that seemed to hum in sync with the princess's fading heartbeat. The chamber's chaos persisted, guards and courtiers frozen in disbelief, but around him a strange calm was forming, a bubble of human defiance in the eye of an alien storm. The black veins snaking across her luminous skin, the unmistakable mark of the poison, paused in their spread. Slowly, almost imperceptibly at first, they began to recede, withdrawing from her core like shadows fleeing dawn. The princess's glow steadied, faint but persistent, a fragile star refusing to die. Court members stared, mouths agape, as centuries of protocol, logic, and expectation crumbled before their eyes. Even the Emperor, crouched low in grief, felt a stir of disbelief. A human, mere flesh and bone against millennia of perfected alien evolution, was halting what had been designed to be unstoppable. A sharp chime cut through the chamber as an alien doctor activated a portable scanner, beams of blue light dancing across the princess's body. The holographic readings displayed the impossible. The poison, instead of advancing, was being broken down. Its molecular bonds were unraveling, its toxic tendrils dissolving under the influence of a warmth no device could replicate. "Impossible!" the doctor muttered, voice trembling, scanning, re-scanning, as if each readout was a hallucination. "The toxin, it's transferring." Kellen didn't understand the science, didn't need to. He only knew he was holding her, refusing to let go. But the doctor's voice carried a revelation the court could not ignore. The human immune system, the chaotic, unpredictable, messy evolutionary gamble of humanity, was breaking down the poison. Where alien physiology relied on precision and perfection, humans had thrived on imperfection, on adaptability, on surviving everything the universe threw at them. The warmth of Kellen's touch was not just comfort, it was life itself. It seeped into her veins, a conduit of chaotic resilience, countering the engineered toxin. The medics watched in awe as centuries of technology and design were rendered secondary to the raw, evolutionary advantage of imperfection. A faint smile appeared on the princess's lips, eyes fluttering open. "What?" she whispered, voice fragile but filled with wonder. Kellen allowed himself a breath, heart pounding not in triumph, but in awe of what humanity had always known deep down. Survival is not perfection. Survival is endurance. The Emperor, still kneeling, muttered the words that would echo across generations. Humanity evolved in chaos. And in that stark contrast, aliens perfected, humans survived, everyone in the chamber glimpsed a truth too long ignored. Perfection could be calculated, replicated, controlled. But chaos, unpredictability, and resilience? That belonged to humans alone. The court remained silent, stunned, as the impossible continued to unfold. A human, with nothing more than warmth, courage, and unshakable will, had done what no alien science could achieve. The warmth in Kellen's hands was no longer a gentle pulse, it was a conduit, drawing the deadly poison from the princess and into himself. Every second, every heartbeat, he felt it spreading, a creeping nausea twisting through his stomach, a fire crawling beneath his skin. His knees buckled, and for a moment, he feared gravity itself would betray him. Yet he did not let go. The princess's luminous skin brightened slowly, shadows retreating, veins of black dissipating as though they had never existed. Her breaths came steadier, a soft rhythm returning after the violent chaos of toxin and death. She blinked at him, eyes wide with something between awe and fear. "You're killing yourself to save me," she whispered, her voice trembling, a delicate thread of sound that carried the weight of her gratitude and terror. Kellen forced a grin, grimacing through a wave of dizziness. It's a Tuesday for humans," he said, voice hoarse. Not much else to do but ruin a few perfect alien plans along the way. The corner of her mouth lifted, despite the lingering weakness, a faint smile blooming. "You make it sound so easy," she said, disbelief and amusement mingling in her tone. "It's a gift," he replied lightly, though his hand shook under the strain. Each pulse of warmth he gave her hammered at his own body, weakening him further. His vision blurred at the edges, muscles screaming, but he stayed rooted, a human anchor against impossible odds. Around them, the chamber remained still, breaths caught, eyes wide. The Emperor watched, silent but riveted, as centuries of alien precision and advancement faltered before a human's raw endurance. Even the medics, scanning Kellen's failing vitals, could only marvel at the messiness of survival translated into miracle. The princess reached up, fingers trembling, brushing against his temple. "You're amazing," she said softly, voice barely audible. "And insane." "Mostly the insane part," Kellen muttered, forcing a chuckle through the nausea. "Humans always survive. Just, with a little flair for drama." The black veins had fully receded now, replaced by the familiar, gentle glow of her alien physiology. Her breathing deepened, eyes clearer, focus returning. For the first time since the poison struck, she could move without trembling. Yet Kellen's body sagged under the weight of what he had absorbed. His skin paled, lips dry, but his hand remained pressed against her chest, a steady pulse anchoring her back to life. The room's awe deepened, and even in his weakened state, he found the humor in the absurdity of it all. Centuries of alien sophistication brought to a halt by a human with bad timing and stubborn persistence. The princess's eyes met his, shimmering with tears and light. "I owe you everything," she whispered. Kellen shook his head, faint smile tugging at his lips. "You'll have to settle for gratitude, and maybe a few intergalactic insults later." And in that fragile, chaotic, profoundly human moment, the impossible had become real. Life triumphing through sacrifice, humor, and the messy resilience only humans could provide. The chamber, once tense and chaotic, fell into a stunned silence. Then, slowly, a low, incredulous laugh began to ripple from the Emperor. It started as disbelief, then grew, rolling through the vast hall like a wave breaking over ancient stone. He rose, tall and imposing, eyes glinting with a mix of awe and reluctant admiration. "So this is your species," he said, voice resonant and commanding. "The species that survived ice ages and plagues. The species that crawled from mud and reached the stars with nothing but chaos, stubbornness, and hope." He gestured toward Kellen, who was still pale and trembling, hands pressed protectively over the princess's chest. "And yet," the Emperor continued, "it is your hand, warm, flawed, unpredictable, that has done what our finest minds and oldest technologies could not." Courtiers and medics murmured among themselves, shock painted across every face. Protocol, hierarchy, and centuries of perfectionist pride had been shattered by a human. By a species long thought primitive, messy, and fragile. The Emperor's gaze softened, sweeping the chamber, settling finally on the princess now fully recovering, her glow steady and unbroken. "I misjudged you," he admitted. "I assumed that perfection equaled superiority. I assumed that chaos equaled weakness. But today, humanity has proven otherwise." Kellen, still feeling the lingering effects of the poison, managed a weak grin. "We've always known," he said, voice rasping but defiant. "Messy, stubborn, and impossible, that's how we survive." The Emperor stepped forward, raising his hands for silence. "Let it be known," he declared, voice carrying to every corner of the chamber, "that humans are no longer mere allies, nor mere curiosities. They are equals. Our treaties are renewed, our alliance upgraded, and their courage and resilience have earned our respect." Whispers of astonishment spread through the court. Alien diplomats, accustomed to millennia of rigid hierarchy and careful calculation, bowed and straightened as the decree resonated. Even the most skeptical guards and medics felt the weight of this historic acknowledgement. The princess, still trembling but smiling, placed a hand on Kellen's arm. "You did it," she said softly. "You changed everything." Kellen shook his head, faint humor still flickering in his expression. "I just held on," he said. "Humans, we survive. That's what we do." The Emperor's laughter returned, softer this time, mingling with pride and wonder. A species that learned to crawl, to stumble, to fight against every impossible odds, and now stands beside us as equals. Let no one forget this day. For the first time, humans were not merely participants in alien diplomacy. They were recognized for what they had always been: resilient, unpredictable, enduring. They had survived where perfection had faltered, proving that, in the cold vastness of the cosmos, it was not just technology or intelligence that mattered, it was humanity itself. The chamber's tension had transformed into something unspoken, yet unmistakable, awe tempered with respect. Where panic and disbelief had reigned, now silence carried reverence. Courtiers and guards watched as the princess, once the fragile center of a life-threatening emergency, rose to her feet and approached Kellen. Her luminous skin radiated steady light now, her eyes clear and unwavering. She extended a hand, delicate, graceful and yet firm, toward him. The gesture, simple in form, carried immense weight, an acknowledgment of what had been risked, endured, and achieved. Kellen swayed slightly, the residual poison still gnawing at his strength. His knees threatened to buckle, but the princess's hand was there, steady, anchoring him. He grasped it instinctively, and in that clasp, the power dynamic of the past hours shifted entirely. She was no longer the one needing protection. She was the one granting stability, offering support. "You saved me," she said softly, her voice a quiet balm against the buzzing silence of the chamber. "Let me return the favor, even in this small way." Kellen attempted a grin, though his lips were pale and dry. "Small favor," he rasped. "Feels like you're carrying the weight of an empire just by standing next to me." Her smile was faint, yet something in it radiated strength, dignity, and gratitude all at once. She guided him, firming his stance, steadying his shaking limbs, as though transferring the authority of her presence to him, and in doing so, silently acknowledging the incredible human resilience he embodied. The court watched, transfixed. Centuries of alien discipline and hierarchy seemed suddenly pliant under the undeniable truth of human courage and alien recognition. Where once humans had been dismissed as fragile and chaotic, now they were central, respected, equal, and, in this moment, intimately honored. The emperor, still standing but no longer dominating the scene, observed quietly. His eyes glimmered with something between pride and awe. Here, in the soft exchange of support, he recognized the human difference not merely as survival, but as a force capable of commanding respect even in the halls of ancient perfection. Kellen allowed himself to lean on her strength, the warmth of her presence reinforcing his own battered body. For a human, accustomed to carrying burdens without pause, this reversal, the princess sustaining him, acknowledging his limits, was profound. It was a lesson, not in weakness, but in the shared power of trust, connection, and mutual survival. Around them, murmurs of approval and soft exclamations began to ripple through the assembly. Respect had replaced dismissal, understanding had replaced doubt, and humanity, messy, resilient, unyielding, was no longer underestimated. The princess squeezed his hand lightly, a silent affirmation that the balance had shifted. She had been saved, yes, but in saving her, he had changed the way her people, and perhaps even the galaxy, saw humans forever. And in that quiet, powerful moment, the impossible felt less like a miracle and more like an undeniable truth. Strength, in its purest form, could flow both ways. The Grand Chamber had transformed from a theater of panic into a stage for history. Where chaos had once ruled, now ceremony and solemnity reigned. The princess, fully recovered, stood beside Kellen as the emperor stepped forward, eyes bright with a newfound reverence. "This day," the emperor announced, voice carrying across the chamber and through the broadcasting conduits to every allied system, "shall be remembered not for technology, nor for protocol, nor for the perfection we have long prized. It shall be remembered for life itself, for courage, and for humanity." A ceremonial blood vessel, ancient and symbolic, was brought forward. The princess pricked her finger, letting a drop mingle with Kellen's own. The mingling crimson shimmered faintly under the alien lights, sealing the bond of trust, survival, and unity. Not just ink on parchment, not just treaties written in careful, precise language, but a covenant forged in the crucible of life and death. "Not sealed in ink," the emperor intoned, gaze sweeping the assembly. "Sealed in survival." The court watched in awe as he continued, his voice resonant with weight and clarity. "Humans have proven themselves equals, not only in courage, but in resilience, in unpredictability, and in the unyielding refusal to surrender. Let it be known that our alliances are renewed, strengthened, and elevated." Let it be known that humanity shall walk beside us, not as supplicants, but as partners in shaping the stars themselves. Diplomats whispered among themselves, noting the subtle tremor in centuries-old hierarchies. Where once humans had been dismissed as chaotic and fragile, now they were recognized as a force that could not be ignored, capable of altering the trajectory of empires with a single, simple, human touch. Kellen, still pale but steadying under the princess's supportive hand, allowed himself a small, tired smile. "I guess we'll have to get used to all the paperwork," he murmured, half joking. The princess laughed softly, a light sound that carried the weight of a recovered life and a reconciled galaxy. Outside the chamber, messages cascaded across star systems. Broadcasts relayed the miracle, the heroism, and the courage of a single human who defied expectation and saved an alien princess. Political allies and rivals alike paused, reconsidering strategies, alliances, and assumptions about the species that had clawed their way from mud to the stars. The Emperor's declaration finalized the shift. Humans were no longer a curiosity or minor ally. They were a recognized and equal power, capable of shaping the future of the galaxy in ways no alien calculation could fully predict. And in every system that heard the story, in every council and senate chamber, in every starship bridge and academy lecture hall, the lesson was clear. Survival, courage, and unpredictability were the ultimate currency in a universe of precision and control. A human had changed the rules, rewritten the expectations, and reminded an entire empire what it meant to endure. And the galaxy would never forget. Medical teams swarmed the chamber, scanning, stabilizing, and murmuring in astonishment. Machines that had never failed blinked uncertainly at the readings of Kellen's vitals, alien doctors leaning closer to study the human anomaly that had absorbed the princess's poison and survived. The court buzzed with whispered speculation, some daring to question their long-held beliefs about life, resilience, and the limits of biology. And through it all, the princess refused to let go of his hand. Her grip was firm but gentle, a silent acknowledgement of what had been endured together, a shared miracle no technology, protocol, or ancient wisdom could replicate. Kellen leaned back slightly, exhaustion pulling at him like a gravity stronger than the chamber's walls. He allowed himself a moment to simply feel the warmth of her hand in his, the quiet pulse of life that had once seemed so fragile, now steady and unbroken. He could hear the whispers, admiration, awe, even fear, echoing across the room, but they did not touch him. What mattered was this: the fragile human heart, stubborn against impossibility, had done what the galaxy's greatest minds could not. A narrator's voice, soft but certain, seemed to rise above the chamber's hum. Humanity is not the strongest, not the oldest, not the most advanced. Yet in the simple act of enduring, of risking everything for another being, Kellen had revealed the truth that had been forged in millennia of struggle. Humanity did not survive because it could calculate or perfect every action. Humanity survived because it adapted, because it endured, because it refused to surrender in the face of overwhelming odds. But when the universe tries to kill us, it is in the chaos, the unpredictability, the messy, stubborn persistence that we find our strength. We endure. We protect those we care about. Even when everything is designed to stop us, even when death seems certain, we refuse to let go. The princess's eyes, luminous and steady now, met Kellen's, conveying gratitude, trust, and wonder all at once. Around them, the court, the empire, centuries of pride and perfection, witnessed a truth that would not soon be forgotten. In that quiet moment, across the breadth of alien history and human endurance, a simple fact became undeniable. Sometimes, the greatest power is not measured in strength or knowledge, but in the willingness to act, to care, to survive, and to hold on when everything tells you to let go. And among the stars, that may be the greatest power of all.